I call the session, roll call of members.
Bill Samuelson,
Bill.
Barry Manaway,
Present.
Dexter Good,
Present.
Dan Osborne,
Present.
John Houghton,
Yes, sir.
Jerry Seiler,
Present.
John Miller, Bob Cooper.
Present.
All raise for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask for the approval of the April 16th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Esther.
Is there a second?
By Jerry.
Okay.
And the approval of the May 8th, 2024 work session minutes.
Same.
Second. All those in favor of the April 16th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The April 8th minutes, special session. Although, may I have a nomination or a motion? Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
I think we had one. Chester made it. Yeah.
I say.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, has the sheet made it all the way around yet? Give it a little bit. So just a few notes while it's still going around. We're gonna have a public hearing to certify the Destination 2040 Culver Comprehensive Plan to the Culver, the town council. We're gonna have Donnie Ritzma, am I saying that right?
Correct.
Give a presentation on the plan. A note, the public comments are limited to 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you can finish your sentence. After that, you will be cut off. Each person may only speak once on this. The building commissioner will keep time. Please state your name and address to speak. So it's gonna take a little while to try and go through everyone in the room and give people a chance to get up, so it's gonna be a long night, so. Just bear with us, we appreciate it.
And these are public comments on the comprehensive plan,
Correct, the comprehensive plan, the 2040,
not on the Dune site plan.
correct.
Yeah, Joel, do you want to give notice about the dunes tonight prior to, in case we have members of the audience who are solely here for the dunes?
Did they officially table it for the next day?
They have not, but I was wondering if that's something that maybe should transpire, or did you want to just stay to the order?
Well, since we're still passing around the form, we have a little bit of downtime. I apologize, you don't get a percent right away.
Okay.
But, we had some information from our engineer. The dunes plan has not been, you can speak better on it. I apologize.
Yeah, but if I may, and Mr. Richardson is also here, the attorney for the Culver Equities and the Dunes project. What we were wanting was an absolute vetting of about 3 more specific areas of a detention area. We have to have those vetted before moving forward. In order for the planning commission and the town council to vote accordingly and responsibly, I wanted to be able to provide them with the best vetting and data that I could. That had to come from our engineer. The data came in a little bit late. We were not able to vet it to the level. It was probable, but not demonstratable yet. So I did not want to err on the side of caution, to be quite frank. So we've asked Mr. Richardson to table tonight. That is their option to do so or not do so, and I'll leave it to you, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just to clarify a little bit, by detention area, we mean water detention. So, yes, there, it is the intention of the developer to ask the board to table the application this evening, so we can finish up a few of those things. There was some work that came in, just has to be finished off with Scott. And we're getting a few of those very, very minute details oriented out. And as we finish that up, I think that it'll be probable for Scott to give his recommendation to the board. But it is our intent to ask to table that. I'm happy to stay here and answer questions. I'm at the board's disposal. I've made the plans to be here for a while tonight anyhow. So I'm happy to stay and be of service. But it is the intent to table the request today for a future date that'll be published by the city.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you plan on tabling both the replat and the site plan?
Yes.
Would you be willing to entertain a motion to table the replat and the site plan until our next meeting?
Yes.
I so move.
All those in favor of tabling until the next, it's June 11th, right?
No. Sorry,
It's a
June,
regularly scheduled meeting, but there was discussion of a special session.
There was a special session being considered for June 11th, which would be a Tuesday,
well, that was just a work session,
in a special session.
special session. So whatever date you choose,
To properly advertise for a special session.
I do.
Okay. We have time to go ahead with a special session for June 11. We'll go ahead and I'll entertain the motion again. I'm sorry, John.
So I move to postpone the consideration of the site plan and of the replatting until our special meeting on, our special session on June 11th.
Anybody second on meeting for a special session on June 11th? Okay. I'll entertain.
Be back from. Financial.
Okay.
You're not together, so.
I'll entertain the moving into the regularly scheduled June meeting,
That'll be June 18th.
June 18th, the week after. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All those in favor of the June 18th hearing of the dunes at that time?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Joel, can I ask a question? So anybody's prepared?
Yeah.
On the website, would there be any material ahead of time posted? Will it be updated on the website, town's website, so we can view it? Or do we just come to the meeting and watch it on the projector?
As far as I know, you're going to have all that information available.
Absolutely. You're talking about the updated plans and everything.
So what the new.
I am. I'm gonna reorganize it. The Dunes folder is getting a little bit messy. So what we're gonna do is click a public information center where you can go, click on the town website, you'll get that information. As I get, and a lot of the information is in, so I'll just get the request information and put out there for you.
So the new map will be.
Absolutely, the new map, and then there is also, I put some wetlands material, Jenny, asked for it, I decided to put that in there too. Okay?
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
So if anyone is here specifically for the dunes, for the tables, have a good night. Has everybody had a chance to sign in? Okay. Bobby, you have the clipboard. You just, she just. Yep. That's your phone? Do I need a motion to open the public hearing before you?
No, I think you had Donnie speak first.
Okay.
Mr. Richmond?
Mr. Richmond, I apologize for the delay.
Yeah, no problem.
Who's controlling PowerPoint?
I don't have a PowerPoint up.
If not, that's fine. I can just talk to it, but I did have some updated slides from the last time I had given a presentation back at the March 19th meeting.
I don't know if I'll be able to get to it quickly. I doubt it. When did you send that?
I like.
Kevin, do you remember? Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
I think it was PowerPoint, but.
can I do this for you real quick?
Yesterday. I don't have that on here for now.
Here, let's go to from. We'll just sort by from and then hit D. And then scroll down, should get to Donnie, and that should get you there.
Oh, there's a lot of emails here.
No, there is. There's Don, so we'll get close. There it is.
425, that's not it.
Try this one.
Or 19.
Yeah, no. Okay, well, let's go ahead, Don.
All right.
Let me look at.
I can send it to you in a PDF format if that.
That's why I thought you had it, Steve, sorry.
Here, I got it.
Okay. Well done, sir.
Maybe.
It does take a minute.
Yeah, it's a big phone.
So there we go.
Okay, so I'll try to be brief in this presentation, but as I mentioned, this is a more condensed version than what you heard back when I came down on March 19th. So we had started this project. I want to open up saying that we started this project in April of 2022 with doing a branding initiative to come up with the logo that you see there on the front of the cover. I will also mention that the plan is currently accessible online at culver2040.com, as well as town's website. Printed copies were made available at Town Hall, as well as then the public library. We did update that version though from those two locations. So here before the Plan Commission, they have an updated version. Hopefully you had a chance to review it prior to today's meeting, because I think it should have been included in your all's packets. So in starting this presentation, and over the 2 years, we had organized a steering committee that consists of the Culver Crossroads team. I had broad representation on that group from various stakeholders. And through this process, we put together a vision statement. So Steve, you can scroll down to our vision slide. It says Culver is committed to optimizing our natural resources and human capital to create a quality destination for residents, scholars, and workforce, as well as for visitors to Culver Academies, Lake Maxincaugee, and our vibrant year-round town. And then the foundational elements, this holds up the vision, are our core values. There are 6 of them, and they are Culver as the destination, starting from the top. Culver as destination, arts, culture, and education, quality of place, quality for people, infrastructure, and then lastly, business development and support. Through our process, those core values were very influential in helping us organize additional stakeholders who are not part of the Culver Crossroads team, but we invited to participate on various focus group sessions. And the stakeholder workshop, that should not be number 2, but we have focus group workshops for each of those 6 core values. We invited many Culver Academy representatives to serve on each of those groups, as well as we organized chairs from the Crossroads team to lead those sessions, and then also broaden that invitation out to various individuals that they felt would be prudent to help give our input. We started public engagement. It was integral for this process that we offered many public engagement opportunities. That's partly why this project has taken a little time to get through than what I'm more traditionally used to, accustomed. Usually conference plans take a year to get through, but we also wanted to be cognizant of our engagement efforts. And so we didn't want to limit based on a 12-month time frame. And that's why we've, actually extended it out for additional year and a half or so. So kicking off the engagement in June of 2022 and July of 2022, we have put together an activity called Postcards from the Future. It was a fun activity that you could imagine yourself in the future and imagine what you envisioned the town of Culver would look like. But then you would write a postcard to your present self. So you're writing it from the future and reflecting on what you envision the elements that I have in the town of Culver. So we had 51 residents complete a postcard. We also had an input survey that was available online, as well as printed paper copies was available at Town Hall and the library. That first survey, we received 275 unique responses from individuals. And then, as I mentioned, it shouldn't say stakeholder workshop number 2, but focus group sessions for each of those 6 core values. Also, see, that's where the stakeholder workshop came in number 2. I copied it, sorry. But as we were going through the engagement in the first round, that first round of engagement activities, we brought results back to our steering committee. And they, through those efforts, that helped us craft that vision statement, those foundational core values that I previously mentioned, as well as then start garnering our aspirations of what the community wants to see in their community for the future, 2040. We had those focus group sessions I mentioned, they helped us then identify specific goals and strategies to make those aspirations a reality for 2040. We spent many months venting through that information because with 6 core values and goals and strategies, it was a lot to get through. But again, we wanted to be cognizant of what we have received from the community. And so we were careful in reviewing that information with stakeholders in the Culver Crossroads Steering Committee. We presented that information back to the stakeholder workshop before opening up again to the larger community. So that second workshop, we had them do a dry run of those open house activities. If you participated in July, they had a first shot to make sure, you know, what we had come up with as a group is reflective of the community, that we're on the right track, and that they would feel comfortable opening up for broader input. We had offered a second survey specifically asking for of those goals and strategies. Now we're asking for the community's input on telling us what would you like to see the town start implementing in the first 2 years if this plan was to be adopted. And from that survey, we received 167 unique responses, a little less than the first one, but nevertheless, it was still integral in helping us finalize what our top priorities ought to be. This is presented in the actual plan narrative in chapter 5 called the Priority Action Program, or Measuring Our Success. In there, it outlines the top goals that were voted for each of those 6 core values. And we put the number of votes that received. And so the number is the top voted for. It's not all the goals because not every single one of them received the top votes. So those were the top priorities the town would like to start focusing on. All other goals and strategies that were supplementary and supportive are comprehensively mentioned in the Appendix A of the actual plan. So if we scroll down to start showing an overview of what these top priorities are for Culver as a destination. Again, there's many goals. So goal number 2 within that group received the most votes, and that's offering quality townwide events to make Culver more of a year-round destination, not just a summer attraction or a vacation spot. Second value was arts, culture, and education. Goal number 1 received the most votes of their set of goals. And goal 1 is seeking to create a cultural arts center to better foster a collaborative learning environment. So to help local artists be able to, you know, help them grow in their initiatives. It also provides a space for artists who want to teach and work to be able to do that all together in one location. The third core value, quality place. The top voted for goal was clean up lighter properties, underdeveloped properties, and underutilized properties and spaces. Top priorities for number 4, quality of people. On to the next slide. Was goal 1, offer attractive and diverse housing choices and price points to support living choices for all stages of life. So we wanted to, this was actually a priority that was carried over from the current comprehensive plan from 2014. It was something that was identified then as a top priority. And then through this planning effort, housing, having a diverse range of housing choices and pricing points was also a top priority moving forward. The 5th core value, infrastructure. The top voted for was actually 2 of them. They're fairly close to each other, was maintain a comprehensive system of roads, trails, and sidewalks. And then lastly, maintain Culver's quality standard for 24 hours, 7 days a week, emergency service coverage. And the last core value, business development support, the top voted for goal was increased support for entrepreneurs and local business owners. And you notice some of the text is in red and some is in blue. The ones that are marked out in blue specifically were the ones that received the most votes amongst these top voted for goals. And as I mentioned, the entire list is in Appendix A, but this is to help focus the town's efforts and the Plan Commission's efforts as they're reviewing site plan proposals. And then the last 3 slides that I have here are highlighting the character map, the transportation connections map, and the last one is the bicycle and pedestrian connections map, but you can keep it on the character one. The character one, it was flushed out through our stakeholder workshops and then all of the community engagement activities. We took all those aspirations, we took all the public input that we received in the last 2 years to finalize, revise it into a future proposal character map for y'all's consideration here displayed on the screen. And I want to remind everyone, this is a character map, not an actual land use map that for planning purposes, you're probably more accustomed to seeing. And that was intentional because we don't want to get down to the granular parcel level, but we want to more characterize common areas and how we want these spaces to feel and function. So again, more focusing on the character of things, not so much the subjective of the individual parcels. The transmission connections map supports these character areas by making sure traffic is able to freely move through efficiently. So this outlines in state statute, we're required to put together a thoroughfare plan. And this particular element suffices state statute because it does show the existing as well as any proposal recommendations for future functional classifications or new roads or intersection improvements. So in the solid lines are just highlighting what the currently existing road classification system looks like. And then under proposed is, would be new roads. And then if it's a new road, we went to the next level of if it needs to be functionally classified, what that would look like. And that's in the dotted line. And also emphasize many of these improvements were carried over from the 2014 plan. And some of them were still priorities, but just were not able to get to during this time frame. And so we wanted to continue it moving forward into this updated version. Similarly with the bicycle and pedestrian map, in 2015, I believe the town went through a planning initiative to put together a master trails bicycle pedestrian master plan. And everything but the purple sidewalks, there was an additions within our steering committee to want to see new sidewalks, but most of all of this was carried over from the master plan. So if you saw the master plan, if not, it mirrors that to a T. That's all I have. And so during this public hearing, we know we want to offer up for public input, but the aim for tonight was why I'm here is also to ask for the Plan Commission certified of approval being forwarded favorable recommendation to town council.
Okay. Would you like to take one of these seats to be up here so you don't have to keep coming back up from your seat, or would you like to answer from where you were sitting? If anybody has a question directly to you.
Are you okay if I just stand here?
Yeah, you can stand if you wish.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I motion that we open a public hearing to certify the Destination 2040 Culver Comprehensive Plan.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're just going to go down the list. I'm going to call out the names. I'm sorry if I butcher some of these. Amy Curtis. All right. Scott Curtis.
I'm just watching for now.
Okay. Kay Schultz.
Just watching for now.
Thank you. Deborah Miller. Joel Fisher.
I mean, I guess I'll address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, please come up. And I know you wrote down on the physical form about this.
Yeah. Joel Fisher, 16475 18B Road, Culver.
Thank you very much.
I guess the big concern here in the room is just the expansion of the 2 mile buffer zone to encapsulate that entire area and how that impacts the rural areas once we get outside the zoning. Our distinction, and there's some verbiage, and I'm trying to find it right now. I can't find it, but there's some verbiage that still maybe does not have the detailed specificity that I think what we would like to see, just to ensure the sanctity of A1 zoning. And that A1 zoning still stays within the parameter of where the county has it now. It doesn't get, you can get skewed, you can get 2 different zones, but 2 different definitions under the A1 zone. So I guess that's my concern. I don't know if I'm speaking on behalf of the greater body here or not, but that's what I want to just pitch out there in front of everybody. And Kevin and I talked a little bit previous to the meeting. I guess my concern, as a father, 2 boys that's growing up, getting ready to move away from home, if they want to come back to our farm and just say, hey, we want to put in a feedlot, we want to stay within the parameters for what the county zoning is now, put in, 40 or 50 head of steers and feed steers out. We want to be able to do that and not have 50 more hoops to jump through than more than we already have. So we just want to serve what we have right now and not expand that out and get intruded on.
Okay, if I take a second.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, I appreciate your comments that you submitted. I know the town had a special work session with farmers earlier in a month. And what I want to reiterate is this is not a zoning plan, but this is a comprehensive plan that helps more of a guiding direction policy for the town council and the plan commission. For state statute, just kind of, it's all outlined on page 9 of the actual plan narrative. It's been updated. So on culver2040.com, you can see the updated version there. But what I'd like to say is under state statute, we are allowed to consider, we're allowed to consider what future opportunities could look like beyond, within a 2-mile extra planning jurisdictional area. But the Culver's current planning jurisdiction is town limits plus then whatever their zoning boundary is. And I think it's not actually a full 2 miles, but it's 1.5 miles, I believe. Kevin and Sean can correct me afterwards. But nevertheless, it's shorter than that 2 miles. So state allows communities within in a plan commission of a county like Marshall County and an advisory plan commission to consider what future opportunities could be up to that 2-mile extraterritorial planning area. And so we had guided, myself personally, guided the Culver Crossroads team to consider not only within what your authorized planning jurisdictional area is, your town limits, and then staying within the parameters of your zoning boundary, that 1.5 miles, if you will. We also expanded it, a 1/2 mile for the sake of conversation, if it is 1.5 miles, up to that full 2 mile to consider, what would future opportunities, because, there's developers who would like to come in the community, they might need service, utility services. Partly why we do this is we want to make sure that the town of Culver, being the public utility provider for most utilities, are they able to capacity-wise be able to support that growth? Are they going to over capacity, community protective services, so police, fire, are they going to be able to respond should developments, become online and boundaries need to expand? We didn't recommend that boundaries expand, and we're not actually recommending the boundary to be expanded within this plan. But we wanted to consider what that 2-mile consideration was. And so when we were putting together the character map, Steve, if we still had it up, so everything that is colorized and highlighted, if you will, more deeper, is within that, what your current zoning boundary already is. Anything beyond that, so I guess from my understanding for technical zoning, it's that A1. So we zoomed in here, the town limits, the purple, and then the darker green. The darker green represents neighborhoods. So it's more residential conservation. So conserving those open spaces, the environmentally sensitive areas, still allowing the current residential framework to exist, as well as any future opportunities to preserve those features, and then Culver Academies. So that's what is colorized here, is where your current zoning boundary is. Anything beyond that, it's not really displayable here on the screen, but in the actual plan document, I see this legend did not get updated, and that is my mistake. But we purposely, from that work session, updated the legend and any the titles of the characters that term that you see here, rural management. When we originally put this together, we were intentional at wanting to preserve everything that you're seeing in that A1. So if it's those larger rural homesteads, we want to keep that as is. All the farmlands, we want to keep that as is. All the environmentally sensitive areas, wetlands and water bodies, we want to keep that all the same. We were not intending to expand the town limits and expand the 2 mile up to the 2 mile planning area. But we wanted to still provide a color and a characterization and what the town's vision is for beyond that 2 mile or the 1.5 mile area is to preserve it as you see it today. And that's originally we call it rural management, but we changed it from that work session to say rural residential and agriculture. And it should have been updated here on the slide, and that's my mistake as an oversight. But in the new version here that I have in my hand, that has been updated, and titles for that rural management have been gone. And you'll see rural residential and agricultural. So hopefully that answers and addresses.
So Joel, if I could just follow up, I've had a lot of conversation with the Amor brothers on this, because I know them well, and they're like, "What you guys doing?" And so I shared with them both the relevant A1 portions from the county zoning as well as Culver zoning. In my going through those, the only difference between A1 county, which would be, I guess, you're subject to now, versus if this were to happen in A1 town, is a limit on the height of your residence. There's no other difference in terms of limits or restrictions in terms of raising cattle, height and size of your farm buildings. And
That's my point, because my building that I put up for my business 7 years ago would not have been able to be possibly put up.
it would under A1. Yeah,
If it was under your A1 town, it wouldn't, because it would have been too tall. I would have been over the height restriction.
I would just encourage you to look at our A1 zoning. The height limitation pertains to a residence in A1, not to your farm buildings, to your business buildings. So,
Now, I would add to that, that if this was ever to be a thing, one strategy that we also recommend that couples with that is that then that the town or the municipality that we're working in, that they will carefully review the zoning ordinance and update it to reflect this vision characterized map. So if you're saying in the current way that A1 is written for the town, if that's not supported by right now, then we would advocate, to the attorney and to the planning commission, that they would recommend amending that language to make it more suitable. And again, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but as a facilitator, I would advise them to carefully review the ordinance as it's written, to amend it to make it reflective of, the character map and then supporting.
I would just add that Sean Cerisi, I'm the town attorney and also a Colton resident, long time. I just wanted to add one thing about this is the current comprehensive plan from 2014. I don't have the language right in front of me now, but it is much more express about actually the town having a desire to expand to the full 2 mile zone. So if we hadn't gone through this process now, the current language that's in there is much more, from your perspective, disadvantageous than what is proposed. I think even then the language that was in the first draft was more, was less express about making that expansion than what we have now. After the feedback we've received says, however, the town of Culver does not have plans to change the extraterritorial planning boundary. Any future consideration for such change will be made in communication with the affected landowners, Union Township and Marshall County. So that's the important thing to remember. We have to have some language about extraterritorial jurisdiction in this plan, just because we already exercise some authority there. And the state statute says it has to be referenced in the plan if you do so. But if we were ever to actually have a project that merited trying to change that, we have to cooperate with the county commissioners for them to agree to cede that jurisdiction to the town. And so that's a very open, transparent process that has public hearings. So, and it's not going to be just willy-nilly the town, reaching out for that unless there's a specific project that merits it.
Yeah.
But if there was, there'd be lots of further input, time for input and considerations for changes to zoning to meet the needs.
Culver2040.com, www.culver2040.com.
Is this the most updated version that's in our packet?
This one is the bonded copy. But I wanted to give you, it's
We're not
nuts,
expanding the zone beyond what's.
sir.
Wow.
Okay.
Joel, last comment I'd make is that
Yeah.
we have, I've lost count of the number of times we've had people who've come in and she said, I'm zoned S1, but I'm really agricultural.
Yeah.
And we've recommended approval of those back to A1 every single time. And I think the town council has adopted those
Yeah.
every time.
And hey, guys, I get why you're doing this. I mean, I think everybody in the room understands why you're doing it. I think we just would appreciate just a more distinguished language that helps protect the sanctity of what we have outside
Yeah.
to where our livelihood doesn't change.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think, kind of where we're all
Yeah.
coming from. We understand why you've got to do the comprehensive plan to do economic development here in the town of Culver. It's got to include all that, encapsulate that whole thing. We understand that. We just want strict verbiage that really protects our livelihoods outside.
There's one more paragraph, if I may. Just, opportunities to expand the current extraterritorial planning boundary should be explored whenever access to town infrastructure and resources is considered in areas beyond the current planning boundary. So that was one of the things y'all said, why would you consider that? And it was through the crossroads and talking to them, that was one of the reasons why. Replacing the county's authority for zoning and building inspection with the town's would not be contemplated with the intent to change the current zoning and use of these areas. Specific language, but rather to identify and plan appropriately when future development opportunities are considered that would affect the town of Halton. And that's why we do it, and that's what you guys asked for.
And that is where to be found right now?
That is a page 9.
Page 9, okay.
And that's it.
Right. Moving down, Bill Hand.
I came here for the dunes, but something caught my eye. Can you go back to the map, please?
Which one?
Which map?
The map that showed all the boundaries, the lines, the dotted lines.
And Bill, since you were talking,
Yeah,
you
right
can
there.
name and address.
Oh,
for the record.
40 Vandalia Street. Thanks. It looks like down in the bottom right corner that this goes through the wetlands. Is that true? Because this is certainly not a road.
It's gonna be a bike trail.
It goes through the wetlands, right?
I don't know.
I know it's a bike trail.
Yeah.
But it's in the wetlands, I believe.
Okay,
And you're not supposed to touch the wetlands,
for like actual building,
development,
right, but
any development.
for trails, you know, if it is a wetland, we would have to do the town would have to do careful consultation with, Indiana Department of Natural Resources.
Right.
To make sure that wetlands are not adversely obstructed and everything, but there's many, I don't know if you've been to nature preserves where there's been walking boardwalks and trails within those wetlands, nature preserve areas. So it's not uncommon that trails, you know, are navigated through within
I'll
those
put it
areas.
this way. I wonder what kind of impact that's gonna have on wetlands if you put a trail through there.
So this is just a very high level conceptual thing. If we ever actually did want to get into a design phase, there would be, you know, studies with the consultants that would take input from people to whether something through a wetland would even make sense, but then we'd have to go through IDEM permitting and lots of environmental if that were even.
Why wouldn't they just take the roads at this point? It's pretty premature to say we're gonna go through the wetlands. And I'm really concerned about the wetlands being compromised. I don't know about anybody else.
I mean, I totally understand your comments. As I mentioned earlier, this was carried over from the 2015 bicycle and pedestrian master plan. So the efforts that the consultant went through during that time with the town, those proposals are also being displayed here because I didn't feel anything really needed to be changed and altered from that planning process. But as Sean iterated, this is just a vision. And just because you see a line specifically there, that doesn't necessarily mean when you actually get through like, you know, hiring a landscape architect or the actual engineer who's going to draw up those designs, the preliminary drawings, that's exactly where that dotted line, where an actual trail would go. It's just to convey that we want to have some connection in this immediate, you know, vicinity of an area. So it's likely as you start, you know, exploring the feasibility, would something actually that even work? Then, you know, again, it's just a vision and it can be altered to make sure that there's still some trail connection on that, you know, southeastern portion of the community.
I understand, but you're publishing this. So if you're publishing, maybe you shouldn't go through there. Because I think the wetlands is one of the most important places to keep the lake as nice as it is.
As do we.
Now, I don't want to see it compromised. Because that will be some kind of dike or something through there.
Well, I think that was actually the original idea, because the design of the new levee was to incorporate possibly a walking trail and utilize the levee, not the actual wetlands.
So it would have to be modified because that's got some breaks in.
It's already been modified.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just sunk a bunch of money into that. It's not.
And GNR was okay with that?
DNR had to improve it.
Yeah.
They had to improve all
Okay.
that work,
All
but
right.
that's hard to see on there.
Yeah.
You're to the defense. And it's a good point to bring up.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Dean?
Sudden. West 15B. Going once?
I'm sorry, I can't quite.
No,
get
we're-
the hand right.
Anything you know?
Okay. Bill Giffens. Nothing. Thank you. JD Castleman.
Yeah, hi, I'm JD Castleman from 641 Forest Place. I came here tonight to comment on the dunes, but I do have some things to say about the comprehensive plan. I think it's a good plan. I'd like to thank all the people who did a lot of hard work on it. I spent quite a bit of time reviewing this draft plan back in April, and I have some general views. First thing I realized that it's really huge. I did a word count, it's 29,000 words. And I compared that to the other comprehensive plans in the county. Marshall County's is 23,500 words. Plymouth's is 23,000 words. Arbus's plan is 19,000 words. Urban's 18,500. And Freeman's comprehensive plan is 9,750 words. And you compare that to Culver's plan of 29,000 words, you can make up your own conclusions, but I said, why do we need 29,000 words? It's my experience that when you have a big plan like this, the larger it is, the harder it is to implement. So I had hoped that we could slim this down somehow. My second point is that of the 6 core priorities, the way I counted the votes, the number 1 priority voted by the community is quality of place. Second, infrastructure. Third, quality for people. Fourth, business development. Fifth, Culver as a destination. That's interesting to me. Sixth, arts and culture. Going on through here, I suggested that a couple things be added. I have some concerns about the Plaza Meadows subsidized housing apartments over here on Forest Place. If you're not familiar with those, I suggest you drive by there on your way home and take a look. Those apartments are in terrible condition, and they have been for years. There are uninhabitable apartments in there. They can't live in there because there are leaks in the roof. It's got tarps over that. Look at the grass. The grass has not been mowed this spring. It's 18 inches, or I don't know, 3 feet tall. I'd like to see some kind of effort by the town to help the owners of that apartment or the people who live there. I mean, there could be school-aged kids living there and going to school. Also, I asked, is that my time? I have a copy of my comments if anybody wants them. Thank you.
JD, could I just ask it, better if you have those, just so we have for the record?
Submit a copy.
Your written comments for the record, that'd be helpful. For the minutes.
Yeah, these are my written comments that I gave Donnie back on the 11th of April.
All right, fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Rich West.
Yes.
All right. Susie Muller, she left. Burke Richardson.
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the Culver Equities LLC, and I'm sticking around in case the best question.
Thank you. Nancy Miller.
Hi, 16270 Pear Road, everybody knows where I live. I just am here because, as this gentleman said, our farmland is our life. And we want to be sure that the language that you incorporate protects everything into perpetuity. My concern at the last meeting that I attended, and I voiced my concern, was that the language that was in the document would allow for a different board 10 or 15 or 20 years from now to just have free reign and do whatever expansions, they, of course, they'd have to go through the process, but they would not be bound by anything that's done here. So whatever language is used, we need to make sure that that language projects into the future, because as most people here know, once farming is in your life, it is your life. And generations and generations continue. So please make sure that the language that you approve will protect into perpetuity, if you could.
As we sit here on my great Aunt Ethel's farm, I appreciate that point. I think though that it's impossible for any current board to tie the hands of a future one.
Was the other meeting was that you make sure that there's a definite reason and that the outcomes for the expansion would be enumerated. In other words, we're not just gonna say, okay, we're gonna expand by 2 miles and whatever happens, happens. We would want some definition as to if there is an expansion, this is why we're doing it, and this is what we anticipate for the future.
Thank you. Waylon Peterson, name's got crossed out. Okay. Judy Eck,
Act 16166 18B culvert. Just a couple things. I agree with Mr. Ham about putting something new in the wetlands. I'd like us to look for some other path, maybe an old railroad bed, something around that, as opposed to putting something new into a wetland that could have a negative impact on the lake. The other thing is whenever I see a character map, makes my antenna go up. I feel like it's a title or a name for something that might say future annexation map. So I would ask that you be careful with that. You have people in this room that have had land in their family for hundreds of years. I would ask that you protect them, not consider annexing that or part of that land and affect what family legacy is.
thank you. Beatrice Hoffman? Beatrice Hoffman, am I saying that wrong? Bart Hoffman?
But I will talk to him now. Bob Hoffman, 20779 Tulip Road. I think part of the problem with this whole thing that caused the uproar at the first meeting, the uproar, but concerns. I don't think your steering committee, maybe they do now, but at that time, they helped put this together, understands how much the agriculture area here is a part of the culvert community. I live outside the zoning. I don't live in Culver, but I've been a member of this area since 1970. My kids went to school here. I spend money here. I do business here. I have a private safety and industrial safety consulting firm. I'm located here in Culver. So we are a part of the Culver community. This plan, as it's worded, pretty much just affects the people who live within the city limits of Culver. And I think you need to take a look at understanding the entire community of Culver, not just the city.
I think, I might be speaking out of turn here, I apologize if I am, but the comprehensive plan is for inside town limits mostly to see what we want to do with what the town currently controls. The expansion is not really in the cards, or they don't want to move out. We're just trying to focus on from Jefferson.
I understand, but that said at the first meeting, somebody must have some intent for it to be in one.
Correct. It's one of those situations. Some things get annexed in, and it's kind of wording for that, like we have buildings going in on the south end of the cemetery. And those got annexed in. That used to be farm ground. It's wording in for that. We'll have them read the wording in a little bit. But like, cause you update the wording, correct? Would you like to read that for everybody now, if you could? Okay.
Okay, so all these comments, do you want me address them like now as they're coming, or do you want to collect them all and then do it all at the end?
Let's collect it all and do it again. Just because it sounds like a lot of people are here for it. Marlene Muller,
Steve Road and Culver. I appreciate the planning committee and also the town board considering the changes that we brought to the meeting the last time. I think you did hear us. I think some of the changes, the wording has been changed. And we appreciate that. The main concern that I have now is that you just keep us informed so that we don't run into a problem like we did the last time. You know, we live outside, we don't necessarily read the town down the lake, we don't read your minutes on your town board, you know, on the bulletin board in the town. So if there is something that comes up that you want to expand that does involve us, I think Kevin, Bob had suggested that we form a advisory committee of the people out in the township. We ask that you do use them, contact them, and let us know what's going on. If there's something that involves us, please don't blindside us, like we have been recently. Just keep us informed. We want to be involved. We just need to be notified.
thank you.
And I comment on.
Yeah.
That's, you brought up a very good, concern that I think a lot of times you have been missed as far as the conversation. I myself have been on the planning commission, I was president for years and we have always welcomed any concerns, especially from people that are on the outside or the field on the outside. If they're in the zoning and stuff, I mean, we respect and want any comments, any concerns ahead of time, if you find them as well. Because we're here to serve you as well to serve anybody in town. It's the same. And that was my oath when I put this solution started. So I just let everybody know we're welcome to anybody come forward.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that. We just, you know, we need to know how, or, you know, we need to know what's going on somehow or another. The other concern that I have, not necessarily about the comprehensive, but you have talked about, putting those outlying areas that when you rezoned the last time, or when you took in, some miles, some extra into the planning commission's jurisdiction the last time, you changed that agriculture land to residential. It's S1. Tell me, S1? Yeah, it's S1. And we talked about possibly changing that back to agriculture. I know all of those people that are involved in that got changed last time without letting us know, because you didn't have an agriculture zoning at that time when you took that in. And now you do have an agriculture zoning. We would like to get that changed back to agriculture land rather than an F1 or whatever it is.
I think I had shared this at the session we had last time, but it's a possibility rather than if you know of a group of homeowner or property owners that applies to, that they'd like to seek that change rather than requiring them one by one to come in and file an application to change the zoning map. They could collectively group together and file one application to change the zoning map. So if that's something that you gather those people and there's a desire to do it, I'd encourage you to reach out to Steve Gorski about doing that. And that's just a zoning map amendment, zoning change. So, but it saved money on advertising and all of that. I think if there's probably a way to collectively do an application or once we just knew who all those people were, have the town initiate a zoning map change that's just more comprehensive than parcel by parcel. So I encourage you to reach out to Steve and talk about that.
Steve, can we get a list? Can I get a list of those people that are in that jurisdiction or S1? And I can contact them then?
I can try. I'll look at it. It'll take a little time for me to put a list together. It's hard to break down. I mean, it's going to be looking at a lot of individual properties. I would encourage those people who are interested in changing their zoning to go ahead and contact me if they previously were in an A1 zoning. As it was mentioned here earlier, anybody that's came before the Plan Commission, since I've been here over a year and has requested S1 to be changed to A1 because they were previously in agriculture, they were granted that. 170, yes.
But that's why they're discussing about $170 for everybody who's still wanting
And-
everybody together. It'd be one.
If I may to explain those fees, when we do that, we have to make legal publications we have to pay for. We have to send out letters to all the neighboring property owners within 300 feet of that property. And there's other associated cost of my time, the materials. So that $170 at the beginning of the year, that was changed to reflect our actual cost for doing publishing and making those changes. The town doesn't make any money on that. That's the actual cost to make the changes. Which if I recall from recently, that was like 15 years ago approximately. So there's been plenty of opportunity, but I'm happy to work with anybody who would like to change their zoning to contact and speak to me. As soon as you go to Beacon and you click on your property, it'll show you. It'll tell you what you're zoned in.
There is a process that's separate from having to do the giving notice to all the neighboring property owners. If the town was to say that we're relatively confident, we've captured everybody that wants to change their zoning, the town on its own accord can just adopt a new zoning map. It's like we're taking this zoning map that has what was S1, now A1, we're replacing it all with this new zoning map. And when you do that, you don't just like, everybody should know, it's in the paper, come to the hearing. And we don't have to send individual notices to all the neighbors. So that would cut down the cost. So that's a possibility. But I think if we were to go that route, we want to be confident that we've done the groundwork to everybody encompassed in it. We're not going to have a trail of individuals later that are going to have to pay that filing fee to do it on their own.
Arlene, on the GIS website, if you go down to the key on the left side, about 3/4 of the way down the page, there's I think it's planning, I think is the menu.
It is.
And then you can check that zoning box. It'll colorize everything in the county to show all the parcels instead of searching for each person.
On the Beacon
But
side.
it'll show, it'll show everything all around. So.
Marlene, you good?
Yeah, thank you.
Did you want to say something real quick? Yes, just a question.
Yeah, Alan Waller on Peace Road. Does zoning split parcels land?
Not to.
That anymore. We've been trying to clean splitting parcels up for a while.
If there is any left, he would probably know.
That was a big correction that was made
I know.
back then.
When
Whoever had the largest, I explained it at the work session, whoever had the largest portion got the zoning, got the jurisdiction to them and got appropriate zoning. We didn't have an A1 when this happened 15 years ago. So it had to be, there wasn't anything else that could be except that.
Right.
So that's why we're
A1 is came into being after that. We recognized that that had to be there. Remember, those of you that were on, remember, we needed to have an A1 jurisdiction. We never had one. So that came here.
The last map that I've seen.
We were 12 parcels that were involved in that I can remember.
The last map that I seen at the last meeting, split my farm right to two. So he did.
Oh. We'll look into that.
I think just to add what Russ is saying, he was involved in that as well. Few of us. But the way I understand, you correct me, Russ, and I know you were involved with it more than I were. But I know there was parcels, the reason we have the difference in this parcel being Marshall County doing the whatever and the line would drop down. We were trying to get a straighter line. All of us were going.
Now, the issue was that it was discovered by Marshall County that we had parcels in the county that were both in our jurisdiction and the 2 mile limit and also in county. We said, we gotta fix that. We can't have two jurisdictions. So it was decided that when both planning commissions agreed, whoever had the largest percentage in Marshall County, if their farm was mostly in Marshall County, then that jurisdiction all went to Marshall County, even though it was in the 2-mile limit. Vice versa, if the majority of the land was in Culver's jurisdiction, it went to Culver. That eliminated the split zoning. I don't know what we're.
Does the whole parcel then go to Culver or just parts of it?
It depends. No, the whole parcel went.
Yeah. That's not on the map.
Well, that got missed somehow. Like if you're, I don't know, I'd have to check that. But it should have gotten taken care of at that time. Well, the rest of it
Was what you're saying.
Maybe digress.
Just saying, that's what the lines.
What gave you that impression?
That's where the 16 road thing came.
They're looking into it right now, so we're gonna keep moving along.
I think, yeah, we might digress some from the plan.
Yeah. All right, we're still here to talk about Culver Comprehensive Plan, so we're gonna keep moving forward. Joyce? Do you wish to talk? Okay, thank you. Larry Fisher?
Larry Fisher, 10700 Dennis Court, Plymouth, Indiana. I would just echo what I think tonight from Joel and Mrs. Miller. We have concerns about our property being outside of the 2-mile jurisdiction. And my house in Plymouth is inside the 2-mile jurisdiction, and we're like orphans. Really, the city, takes care of the city limits. Those areas outside the city limits, we're under their zoning and you pay their fees. Those are kind of neglected. And so that's my issue with the 2-mile jurisdiction. I would just assume you just leave us alone outside and maintain the lines that you have today. And if the need rises in the future, it's changeable. But today, I don't see any need to change any lines. But thank you.
Thank you. Gary? Gillard? Okay. Kevin Berger? Thank you. John Christ?
Nothing.
Thank you. Don Baker? Okay. Denny Morrison?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kenny Morrison, 16618, State Road 17 Culver. I just kind of agree with Joel. I am agriculture. I will be on your list. I'm connected to my father's, been there since 1960. And they made me S1. And we are in the city limits. Almost past my father's farm, but part of it's not. But
you're within the zoning, I think, but not in the incorporated. Yeah.
I am. My father's, it stops, the line stopped before his property does. His property's on you past it, and his is still Ag 1. I just want to make one comment on this gentleman on the words that on our comprehensive plan. Culver is unique. I don't give a shit what other town you go to in this county.
Amen.
Culver is unique. There needs to be about 35 or 40,000 words in this comprehensive plan. That's just my thought on Culver.
I appreciate that.
But, and like Joel was saying, I raise cattle. I got 40 head of cattle running out there from my mom, from income for her. Brown's farm, I make all the hay. So, and I've been farming my whole life, so I know all about, trying to keep with agriculture around here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's got Nancy McInnes.
We're just catching up, but I would reiterate exactly what Ben said. Other people, first of all, thanks for everything that you're doing. I'm really glad that it did get, it was a rocky response maybe the first meeting, but it is wonderful to see the input and, the willingness to talk about these things. And it is sort of frightening when you live your whole life a certain way and then you have another entity coming in and saying, well, now we want to do this. The influence can stay on the floor. But I guess what I'm saying is, it makes total sense if you're down to feel, what is this gonna change? It makes total sense if you're Allen. You got, your farm is now split in two. What does that really mean? What does that not mean in a meeting? What does it mean when it comes to somebody coming into your door and saying, this is what we need to do now, or no, you can't do that now? And I think that really is why this process is good, to hear these people out. And when I first heard about it, my first thought is, how does that impact us? Because we are on the north side of 16th Road, and Marlene's on the south side of 16th Road. And I'm not sure if I know that. That's why it's. But yeah, I think that, I reiterate what you said about needing a plan. It just is, gotta be awful respectful of people's way of life, and I think that the people are willing to change as long as they understand exactly what the impact is. And I think that's really what my first thought is. How does this really impact your ability to farm, your ability to have that lifestyle? And what does it mean for, big development, big housing development? I don't know if I really want a big housing development out next to me. Maybe it'll be that way sometime down the road. But, I don't know. The way it's zoned now, I think I'd have some time to respond. But I don't know if it changed, if it's only changed, if it would be a little easier. I don't know. But I think that's why we're here I'm playing catch up. So thank you all, and thanks everybody for showing up and speaking your mind about, it is big stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. We've come to the list of everyone who's signed in. Is there anybody that came in after this? We'll take in the back first. Name and address, please.
For Karen Collins, 20084 20th Road. I'm gonna go back to this gentleman. And I know there was a lot of time put into this plan. There's so many people that voted on it and postcards and all of that. Was any of that sent to the people who are out in the country that are not in the town limits? I don't think so, right? So all the responses that you got is what the town people want. And you also mentioned something about down the road for development and, having the infrastructure for fire and all that. Is this being put into place so that you can build factories down the road? Or have more employment for the people that you're moving into these new townhomes? That's what I'm concerned about, is once you say these are the limits, then it's just urban sprawl. That's where I'm concerned. And I think a lot of the people who are doing the farming and agriculture want it to remain that way.
I'll just add one comment. So I think we've addressed the idea that this plan is not going to authorize any expansion and expressly say that we're not intending it right now. It would be,
Who votes on it? Just the people?
So they will be asked to vote on it, and then it goes to the town councils to vote.
Okay.
But if ever there were to be an expansion of the zoning boundaries, that would have to be a cooperative effort between the town council and the Marshall County Commissioners, because currently they have the jurisdiction, and we would have to be a process for them to give that jurisdiction to the town. So that would be farther down in the future, and there would have to be a specific reason why. And you have representation on the county commissioners as well, and they have to have a reason to engage in that process. And one other thing we're going to talk about is annexation. A few folks have mentioned that. And over the last probably 20, 30 years, there's been a lot of, I think a lot of it started from the county surrounding Indianapolis that were really more rural, and then there's been urban sprawl, and some of those towns made efforts to prospectively say, we're going to gobble up a whole bunch of farmland and annex it right now on the bet that in the future there's going to be a new housing development there, or we can recruit a new business there. And over the last 20, 30 years, because that's been going on, there's been lots of pushback, and the representatives in the General Assembly have changed the annexation laws quite a bit to make it much more difficult to annex. So really, before it was a lot easier for a town to say, we're going to annex, and they could drag along kicking and screaming a lot of the property owners who opposed it. But really now, unless there's a super majority of the property owners, or it's all voluntary, where every property owner wants to be annexed, it is very difficult for a town just to annex. And I would not be advising the town council to just go out and try to annex things, because it's really a dead in the water, to try to do that, even if they wanted to. But just because the laws are so burdensome, unless the property owners are willing to do it. So I don't think that that's a real fear to concern. There was a few years ago, and I wasn't the representative for the town, but just to the north and west of the school here, there was some property that was annexed, and that was because they had a developer who wanted to build a housing development, and they decided to annex it, and the property owners were willing to have that land annexed. So that development hasn't come to fruition, but it would be only something incremental like that, parcel by parcel, when there were willing property owners before anything like that would happen.
One of the keys is by state statute, the town of Culver would have 3 years to provide utilities to anything we annex. Go ahead and price out how much sanitary and water plant there is in rough by foot. You'll figure out that we're not annexing. 2 miles out, guys. All right.
But that's why that's divided into.
That's part of the research. Yeah. That would be-
No, I mean, honestly, annexation, and they explained it well, but there's a lot more cost to other things that go unseen. I can't even explain that, I'm sure Sean could, but there's a process and a lot of money that goes out and just for research alone that you're not even getting annexation done prior to even be able to try and get it. Under the planning commission, we have recommended annexation before for purposes, but due to the cost, it just wasn't even amenable to being tried.
I was gonna say, about how many years was the last time Culver has tried to annex? Involuntarily.
Involuntarily? Never.
Russ, you remember a time Culver has tried to go outside involuntarily?
Not in not my time.
But
It's all been voluntary.
in fact, the reason this building is here is because my great aunt couldn't get the town to annex this land when she wanted them to. So,
Katie Llewellyn, 1085 East Shore Drive. Just 2 questions for clarification on annexation. See, the Dunes property and then the property where the RV storage, were those both annexed correctly? Correct.
Yes.
Does that effectively then, when that land gets annexed, that effectively pushes out the potential 2 mile zone? Is that correct?
Yes.
So every time you do that, you're effectively expanding. You could, correct?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, you could, it's not automatic.
So that did happen then on the south end of town,
It did.
the potential, okay.
It did.
And then Kevin, the question about your letter that you sent us, and this is just, I just had a question about the language. It says the town will remove the language rural management, residential and agricultural to simply read rural, acknowledging the absence of the agricultural community's input.
It was gonna read rural, residential, and
You said,
we're gonna remove the management part of that and leave it rural, residential, and agriculture. We just removed the management because
you said simply rural. Okay, so what exactly does it say then?
it's gonna say rural, residential, and agriculture, indicating use of the land. One of the attractions were, and maybe quite frankly correct, that none of us have agricultural degrees from Purdue. And we're not managers, so we just that.
So that didn't get changed in the presentation, but it's on page 58 of the new plan is that character map.
I was here.
So what is the zoning definition of rural residential?
it's not a zoning category, basically.
You know, so
It could be either captured currently under A1 or S1. Would that be correct? The way that county is zoned, and obviously there's going to be some S1s that want to be A1. People will look into that, so.
Was there anyone else out in the audience who wished to speak?
That didn't get signed.
That didn't get to sign in.
Hey, Joel, I know you said we couldn't speak again. I just want to kind of wrap this up. I think if everybody's done with their comments, I think everybody has a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth when they hear the word comprehensive plan.
Right.
And I'm not bringing up solar by any stretch of the imagination, but we see Marshall County put together a comprehensive plan in 2013 and they deviated away from what its priorities back in 2013. So I think that leaves a little bit of a weird taste in the mouths of the folks throughout the rural area and agriculture, the A1 zoning. My opinion is you guys have a real opportunity here to set a precedent that you're gonna do this right. And take that into respect, those folks in those outlying areas there. And that's, I just want to bring us full circle to that. You guys, again, we understand what you're doing, why you have to do it. I mean, there's things you have to do for the town and for the town's survival. That includes us being in that outlier area. But that distinction of that verbiage, and I know Mrs. Miller, we want to secure this for generations.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the thing, the security for generations.
We want
And if that verbiage is distinct enough to show that, that's our wish.
Before I let you respond to all the comments real quick, if you have spoken and you didn't get a sign in, please sign in so we have it on the record with your name and your address, just if you came in late or anything like that. And then you want to address everybody's comments?
I think Sean and Kevin did address some of those comments as they were coming. So Don, I know you were frantically typing all this. Can you help me to recall all the comments?
Would it be better to ask you, anybody, is there a lingering comment?
Yes, that's where I was gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a lingering comment out there that you don't feel like we addressed or that's been spoken on?
Or hasn't been fully addressed.
Well, do you want to read?
So, yeah, one was reading what has been revised on the page 9, that there's a number of questions. So the title of it is Culver's Planning Jurisdiction. Again, it's on www.culver2040.com. That's the updated version. And so I'm going to read it word for word just for the sake of making sure I'm getting this correct. Okay. So, bear with me as I had to bear with you all. Destination 2040 includes recommendations and policies for the town's limits regarding its planning jurisdiction. Page 3. Sorry, that has been updated, yes. So it's actually on the new version, page 3.
Thank you.
Richard, you have to do the page numbers. Okay,
Continue on.
page 3. Okay. So I just read that first sentence. Additionally, Indiana Code 3674-205 allows the town with an agreement by county commissioners to extend its zoning and building inspection jurisdiction up to 2 miles from the town limits. Areas beyond the town limits, but within the town's zoning and building inspection authority are known as the extraterritorial planning boundary. Next paragraph, opportunities to expand the current extraterritorial planning boundary should be explored whenever access to town infrastructure and resources is considered in areas beyond the current planning boundary. Again, that's basically taken from state statute and what state legislators have allowed communities to consider. Next sentence, replacing the county's authority for zoning and building inspection with the town's would not be contemplated with the intent to change the current zoning and use of these areas, but rather to identify and plan appropriately when future development opportunities are considered that would affect the town of Culver. Expanding the planning boundary is not to be confused with annexation and has no tax impact on landowners. Next paragraph, Destination 2040 took in consideration future development opportunities to be mindful of any impacts on the town services and infrastructure capacities within that 2-mile extraterritorial area. This is visualized in chapter 4 in the future development character map as a vision of the preferred character in the types of uses that could occur. However, the town of Culver does not have plans to change the extraterritorial planning boundary. Any future consideration for such change will be made in communication with the affected landowners, Union Township, and Marshall County.
Yep, and it's in black and white, and they have something to come back and say, you guys said.
Okay, what was next? Subcommittees, I think the next one was about ensuring future communication and efforts if those outside. In Appendix D, on page 130 and 131, got it right this time. It outlines during that 30-day public comment period, however many comments we did receive. We did receive 21 comments from individuals. On page 131, we summarized those comments, we vetted those through with the Culver Crossroads Steering Committee, and we have put together an addendum for future consideration. So in addressing one of the concerns about making sure communication and involvement is continued beyond after tonight, and if this plan is to be approved and adopted ultimately by town council. Under item number 2, it says the Culver Crossroads team will utilize the current subcommittees or those focus groups that I mentioned back on those core values, those 6 core values, those focus groups. The Culver Crossroads team will be the one who kind of serve as that lead implementation advisory committee. Probably in addition to the one that was mentioned between Kevin and another landowner. That's a little different, but the Culver Crossroads team would kind of be the lead organizer. They've already been meeting up to when we were doing this comprehensive plan. We advocated they would continue to do so, serve in that capacity. But the addition would be in chapter 5. It's reiterated there. It's highly recommended that those focus groups continue to be convened as subcommittees underneath the Culver Crossroads team. And so it would be organized around the 6 core values as it's transitioned towards the implementation of the comprehensive plan. The subcommittees will continue to encourage residents living in Culver and Union Township to join a subcommittee that they would like to serve on. This approach will help build a collaborative partnership to implement these goals and strategies outlined in the plan and establish metrics to monitor the progress. So all that being said is if you would like to continue participating and have a voice, we highly encourage you to join a subcommittee once this plan is ultimately adopted and the Culver Crossroads team has continued to reconvene. That somehow, I mean, I can't ultimately be the facilitator for the group. I was only the facilitator just to update this plan. So it's encouraged that the Culver Crossroads team, whoever the chair or the president of that group is, during their earlier sessions, that they would go through the process, thoroughly vetting who should serve on these subcommittees, invitation should be met. And I know there's a lot of people out there and people might be missed. So please, don't shoot me as the messenger. It's ultimately up to the town of Culver and how they choose to implement, but that's what we encourage as facilitators, that the Culver Crossroads team continues to meet and that they would organize and solidify these 6 core values as focus groups or subcommittees to then they could focus on, no pun intended, those goals and strategies that are outlined in Appendix A. They will be the ones serving as the overseers, the implementers of those initiatives. And again, with the collaborative effort from those living within the town of Culver, Union Township, and the Marshall County, whoever wants to stay involved within Culver's matters, if you will. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, we're asking you to.
As I mentioned, okay, Kevin, they've just volunteered.
Well, and I'll throw it up to the people that are in charge.
Yeah. Can I just get your name for the minutes, please? Thanks.
We've talked again.
This isn't directly related to the comprehensive plan, but there was mention of the county's comprehensive plan and solar, and I just wanted to, I know we mentioned this at the last, one of these sessions, the work session on our comprehensive plan, but just to make people aware, I know solar is an issue that seems to have divided the agricultural community. I don't know where you may stand, but Culver currently has a committee that's working on looking at our battery and solar regulations. And you can see Kevin or Steve Gorski if you'd like to get involved with that. And then Culver currently has a moratorium on battery energy systems that's running through this fall, when the state's supposed to, come out with a study about the decommissioning and various characteristics of that. And if you were paying attention to the county elections this last cycle, solar was a very hot issue there. And most of the candidates that won their elections were the ones that were against expansion of solar in the county. So I think that's going to continue to be an issue throughout the rest of this year until some of those folks may take office next year. So I'd encourage you to stay engaged with your county leadership and some of those candidates that were successful in those elections to voice your opinions on that. So, but definitely get engaged in the town's committee if that's of interest to you.
And even some who are unsuccessful. Thank you.
Perhaps the greater success.
Our solar meetings are at 5 o'clock, the same day as the regular planning commission meeting in the same building. Typically, we did not have one today because of this meeting being moved here from town hall. So it's usually 5 o'clock on the third Tuesday of the month, right?
Yes.
Please confused me. I apologize.
Third Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you. Third Tuesday before planning commission.
I thought he said Thursday.
I thought he said 7.
Getting confused there.
Who's in first?
Yes.
We thank you for listening to us. I want all of you to remember that this is strictly the comprehensive plan that we're talking about. If by any chance they do decide that they want to rezone something, they have to notify all of us in writing, anybody that will be involved. They have to do that. There would be public meetings before they could rezone anything. So if you get a letter saying that they want to rezone, be sure you attend those public meetings. It would have to pass the town planning committee and the town board before it could then go to the county and ask the county. The county would then have to have public meetings. So we have a lot of opportunities. I think they have done what we have asked in changing some of the verbiage and explaining to us what's going to happen. But the next step is we all have to be very receptive to watching the mail. And if we get a letter saying that they want to rezone something, reply to it right away. Don't sit back and do nothing. Because there has to be public meeting before they can change the zoning now. So
Arlene, could I just ask a clarifying question? I know you said rezoning, but it sounded like you were talking about expanding.
expanding.
Okay, I just wanted to get that
Yeah.
right to the right of that.
Thanks.
The county wouldn't
Right.
get involved in the rezone.
But expanding the zoning. So
A comment that I remembered that hasn't been addressed yet about solidifying for the future of different boards of what the decisions they may do. I wanted to mention that common practice for comprehensive plans and putting those together, it's highly advised that these documents are updated and reflected every 10 years. So 2040 is 15 years out, if I did that math correctly, although I can get page numbers incorrect, so it's like I got my math incorrect. The point I'm trying to make is every 10 years, it's encouraged that the town of Culver revisit what was put together. So if this is ultimately adopted, will serve as the new current comprehensive plan for the town of Culver. 10 years from now, it would be encouraged that they revisit this and update it again to reflect any new changes and opportunities that should arise. And it's also a living document. So every 5 years, it's also common practice that you continue to keep looking at it, revise it, and tweak it. So I want to iterate to say that this is not the end of it. And if it is to be approved 5 years from now, even a year from now, the Planning Commission has authority by state statute, Sean, correct me, that they can amend this comprehensive plan as it should be. So if there's still things in here that are mentioned and are outlandish and really needs to be amended a year from now as, changes in the community evolve, the planning commission is allowed to consider amending the comprehensive plan in any way.
Yeah, we've done this 2.5 year process of seeking input to try to fully adopt a new plan, but if there was something that one of the members here, or the town council or a constituent mentioned to them that they'd like to see tweaked, all it takes is initiative of a public hearing by the plan commission and then approval by the council to make that change. So we don't have to go through this whole dog and pony show of 2.5 years of input if there's something specific that we think needs to be addressed.
Because things change year to year. Something's gonna come up and we'll need to adjust.
And again, this is not zoning, so it's different from the zoning. Zoning has a whole nother ball of wax that is different from this particular initiative. All this initiative does, it just helps sets a vision to inform the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals to consider any future development proposals. Is it reflective in your current comprehensive plan? Is it supported by that? If things are being proposed that are not supported by that, it's highly recommended to not approve those particular petitions. But the character map is supposed to inform the zoning ordinance to make sure that, as I mentioned earlier, that the text and the maps that are shown in the zoning is reflective and supportive and all speaks to one another. So ultimately, both will need to be updated. It's highly encouraged that this continues to be updated as things evolve and change. And again, this is not zoning, but just more of a planning visionary initiative.
Too, that the and a person on your subcommittees that you're, send that advisory board, put at least one person on one of the subcommittees.
Yeah.
Well, I would advocate that they'd serve on the main Culver Crossroads team
Okay.
and also on the subcommittee so that their voice is respective on both parties.
If you're not on that advisory committee, reach out to me on the email and we'll get many voices we can. There's no reason that has to only be 4, 5, 6. We can get as many people as we can.
And anybody from that advisory committee wants to come to plan commission meetings on a regular basis, so something like this doesn't feel like it's sprung on anybody, because we want your input all the time. We don't want, it's a community.
Also, which you just reminded me, in chapter 5, it outlines a recommendation or our advisement. Not to keep playing on words here, but the purpose of that Culver Crossroads and the subcommittees, it's highly encouraged that during plan commission and town council meetings, that on a regular basis, much like what the city of Plymouth is now currently doing, that there is a regular update on the Culver Crossroads initiatives on what progress is being made by the comprehensive plan on goals and strategies. So we would advocate that somebody from the plan commission or the subcommittees, from the Culver Crossroads provides an update to the plan commission and the town council on a regular basis. So that way, everyone's informed who comes and participates. Things are much more open and transparent. And again, if you wish to comment on the things, that'll also be an opportunity to comment on any of these matters.
Does anybody have anything directly about the 2040 comprehensive plan before we close the public hearing? Okay, thank you very much for everybody's input. I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second it.
So will I.
Bring me up to.
Okay.
I got a first and a second. Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The public hearing is closed. Thank you for coming. And make sure if you didn't write your name down, then you go ahead and write your name and address so we have it for the record.
If I may, Mr. President, as you're leaving, if anybody has concerns about your current zoning and wants to speak to me, you'll find I'll go out of my way to work with you and help you and explain things. I'm happy to do that. That's what they pay me to do.
For anybody with that issue, some of the people talked about, being zoned from agriculture to S1. I would encourage you to look at the zoning before you make that decision to go back to agriculture. Find out how you want to use your property now and in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot more flexibility under S1 than just. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion to actually recommend the comprehensive plan to the town council?
If anybody's got any, I think we're gonna open it up to the council to have their comments before we go ahead and wait. Possible. Are there any board comments? Anybody want to have any record before we go ahead and vote?
Are we gonna like get in, go through any of this, like discuss any of the aspects of this whole comprehensive plan? Before we vote on it? I mean,
that's where we're at.
I mean, so are we ready to vote on this? Right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of information in there that, you know, we need to digest.
You want to go back and have more time to digest and do comprehensive?
I personally would like to do that, but I don't know if the council feels like if they want to do that after hearing all the comments tonight.
Well, can I reiterate that we addressed those comments, not just in tonight, but in this updated version from that work session, as well as that 30-day public comment period, everything that we've got received and submitted has been reflected and updated and changed in this newer version that's put before you. You should have received a prior version. It's very similar to even this. There's very minor tweaks to what this bounded version was. But most of it is still reflective. So in your packet, it should still be reflective of what you're seeing in this bounded copy. So I would advocate, you should have received this, when you got your packet, as well as when I was here back in March. There was 2 months to also.
Right, I received that, but I didn't receive the new bound copy, but.
Right, but like, what I'm trying to say is not a whole lot was changed from what you received in your packet to this bounded copy.
Did you discuss everything tonight that was changed?
Correct. The only thing that was changed between then and now was the updating of the page numbers, which is why it threw me off as to why I kept commenting page 9 versus page 3. So it was more formatting than it is the content. All the content was put before you in your packet.
Okay, so is there anyone else on the board that feels that way? That they would like more time to go over the latest copy? Do you feel like you
I personally feel like we've had plenty of time. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. Okay. Jerry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've literally read every letter in it, so.
Yes. Okay, so any other comments anybody wants to ask about while we have the gentleman with us? The only comment I will make is, I did attend a meeting where the people outside the zoning came in and spoke their piece about what was going on. And I do think the wording is updated and reflective and very clear and precise about how moving forward we would do anything in the, how was it, extraterritorial. And I really appreciate that. Family owns some ground outside town, so it's personal to me too, what happens with zoning boundaries and how the town expands, because we're out there by the corner of the county, so. It's personal, but everything in what's been updated and what I see in this book, I like the idea of it, so. I will entertain a, oh,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, being on the steering committee and working with this, first of all, just big sheets of paper on the board, and then second or third version is planned now for 2 years, and I think 7 now on the plan commission, and it's complex. It is. It's not easy to necessarily understand the nuances of, annexation versus planning boundary versus zoning. I mean, it's complicated. So, yeah, I fully appreciate, people, being upset, rightfully so with with that last meeting. Hopefully I think people's concerns were allayed by the responsiveness that I think that tried to show to those concerns and as well as their questions tonight. You know, there's, I think the first rule of being a plan commission member is like being a physician, which is do no harm. And that's always been our intent. So, yeah, so I really appreciate you sticking around when everybody else left, but yeah, so yeah, that's why I think I'm satisfied. I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
Just my own final comment, and Steve and I have talked about this, but it is implicit in a couple places, explicit in here that doing this then implies that we'll go back and look at the zoning ordinances again.
Correct.
That so there is yet more work to do.
Yes.
After this,
Because in doing the comprehensive plan, we have found wording that needed to be updated and modified to properly be able to move forward in the 22nd century.
I mean, I want to also say that you've got a comprehensive plan and it's not like it's law.
Right.
I mean, you're not introducing anything, everything in this as far as the vision goes is going to come to pass. So I mean, everything that moving forward still has to come before the boards. So you're not, you can't read this and say, oh, this is what we're going to do right here. It's not that, but it is a destination forward to what we want Culver to be within state statutes, ordinances, things like that. We still have perimeters. You don't just say we approve this and, you know, wave one. It's not gonna. So, I mean, I have got enough information out of this, and I think you have done a great job in clarifying some of my, both of you, Sean as well. And that's the reason I think I'm ready. I know if there's any issues that I've missed, I don't think I have, but no, I looked over the other side and they went over the amendment as far as correcting others. And in the past, we actually had to go by what the town actually needed rather than what the comprehensive plan wanted. So you've got those exceptions as well. In 25 years, we've seen this. 25 more, we're gonna see a whole lot more. So that's my.
Oh, going down the line, Chester, do you have anything?
No, I appreciate the efforts that were made to clarify some of this stuff. I wasn't at that meeting, but I did watch it online. And I see the concerns, you know, as they were raised. It's like, yeah, a lot of that should be addressed. So I do appreciate it. Put that together. It makes me feel better about some of it.
Thank you.
So hopefully it does everybody else too.
I'll accept a motion to approve the certification of the Culver Destination 2040 Culver Comprehensive Plan to the County Council.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carry, all those abstain? Motion carries. Jackie. Yep. All right, now we're gonna need a motion to approve, I go ahead and sign it, the resolution 2024-01 certification is single signature representing the entire plan committee.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carries. And since.
Donnie feels like he's.
If I never see that miserable little town again, it'll be too soon.
Donnie, do you feel like you've just been paroled or something? You're free.
He's got hers.
Oh, well.
There you go.
That's
Fair point.
Not
And
yet.
then, since we went ahead and tabled, do we table just the site plan or does we also table 2024 PO3?
Those motions were made.
Yeah, I just want to double check.
Yes, yes, sir. Those motions were made.
We have a diagram or anything of the site plan requested. Not the site plan, but the replay.
I do. Smaller size copies if you'd like those.
If nothing else, they'd like a handout. If you could throw it up on the big board, I'd like that.
I don't think I can throw it up there. I'm not sure I can find it quick enough, but I do have copies.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, just put it. Yeah, because it'll be a little easier.
Here, I know it's fine.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very fine, so your client.
I can send this file out to the planning commission, so I can move on.
Okay. Moving on, we're going to go to TRC review.
I don't have anything at this time. We didn't have any meetings, I can tell you. So
We'll just move straight to the building commissioner report.
building commissioners report, I'll email that to you all. I'll present it to the town council on Thursday and send it out. I will just make a comment that I know a lot of people left, but there's no such thing as over communication. So I appreciate what everybody's asking for more communication on that. I'll also note that the town of Culver has exceeded any state statute in communicating meetings and information. Just as a note, not saying that's enough, but saying that we've exceeded those expectations or those state statutes when it comes to communicating and publishing notices. I know there can always be do more, but there's a lot of credit that's still due for already exceeding that. I know Marlene left. I wanted to thank her also.
Correct a whole lot of that as well.
And pardon me?
We did correct a whole lot of that as far as the lack of being able to communicate those.
So then again, thanks to Marlene for her participation, and just encourage everybody to participate because your voice does count.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Moving on to old business, new business. It was the comprehensive plan.
Old business, new business, and none of your business, right?
I'm on, yeah.
All right, moving on to citizen input. Okay.
But hasn't been addressed already.
People lost interest.
Is the Dunes website or the link on the website, is that still active?
The dudes on the main side, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you to Dropbox with the information. Few things that I've added, Merck was kind enough to provide the wetland information. Just so everybody could see that it was vetted, it was delineating and the process that it went through. The second thing we'll update is the site plan. Just so you have that in front of you. The other thing that Sean has took a look at what we were looking at R2 with the condo regime last time, and there's get something maybe on there for that, but that was all vetted and good to go. As I get information in from Scott, which is forthcoming, shouldn't be too much more, about a week probably on that, as you so correctly, so the water detention area. We'll put that information out for you guys so you can study that and have some time to come in the next meeting, whatever that is, and have that ready to go. Okay, so that should be within a week, and I'll put that information. I'll probably just email that information to you guys personally instead of putting it all on the website, but I'll probably put it on the website eventually too. Okay, but it's just faster to get it to you through email because you're not going to check the website.
Okay, how do you find that website? Because the link that you sent out,
It's in the
was through the old town website.
Are you using Google Chrome?
Well, I've gone to the town website and searched news and I get a couple meeting minutes that pop up, but I can't find. Because the town website's changed, we're using in.gov.
That's right.
something, right?
And then
I
there's
can't
that
find it
little
on there.
dunes on that 6-bar menu that you click to the far right. And you go in that and it should take you to the drop. And if you got problems up, come on in, Bobby.
It's probably user error.
I'm gonna go with that.
I don't think, the council is, first of all, thank you all for your vote of confidence. We have a member that's, absent because of a family news that we want to, I think what we want to have is full council vote. So I doubt that we're going to be taking the action on Thursday of the week.
Which would be the 13th of June.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So that's still the job. I mean, we didn't handle it for our special activity. Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that, because I, you know.
Motion on these concerns and input.
I find, I don't know if we've had anything you want to add to the conversation.
Yeah, no, I always try to be here. I know that there's certain rules and regulations in terms of communicating with board members and things like the planning commission. We can obviously talk to town council members and things and, so I just want to try and always be available and, you know, you have your time where you can communicate with us and offer our input if you have questions and, obviously there's certainly, we hope to have everything done, but we're still, super motivated and excited for the project, and look forward to buttoning up these last few things. So if you guys have questions or anything, I'm always here, to try and be of service. So I know you guys put a lot of time in, and so I'm trying to put that time in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Man, I'm assuming we have time to get all these things done by that meeting then. Anticipation.
I went to undergraduate law school and management school. If I could have worked engineering in there, it would have been beneficial at this point in time in my life.
I'm a carpenter, I understand engineering very little, because it seems to change every time you're doing it.
Sure.
But go ahead.
But that would have been helpful for me, so. But yeah, we'll do everything we can, and get it all done, and give it to you plenty of time. So.
Now that we're talking on the dunes, what kind of grass is going to be used in the dog park?
Biscuit, it's crossed with, it's really nice in July.
I would like to thank Karen Schoen for hosting this meeting.
You like these digs, Karen said, yeah, I like this. Do you? I do too.
We will not have this many chairs,
Right, no.
just the green one.
Yeah, this kitchen, this might be comfortable. I like it. I like it.
I did community building, your tax dollars, some time ago.
So usually it's just Kevin sitting in the back corner, quiet.
You know what? Oh, that Kevin Berger, yeah.
When he said quiet, we knew which one he meant.
Well played.
I never heard Kevin go back there.
So we're getting to that point. Let's go ahead and any other members have any comments so we can go ahead and close the meeting?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Make a motion.
All those in favor for adjourning?
Aye.
Well done.
Steve, President, you're Steve.
That's not even anyone.
Do I write today and?
Very carefully.
Well, if we had tried to do it tonight as well, we would have been.
I told.
Be there tomorrow night.
Drinking.
The good way, yeah.
So we're looking at, did you include Joel in that conversation?
Yeah, you're on attending the meeting, so.
We're talking about, they were talking about India, as far as coming for the proposal, thinking about the refund you and,
Greatly appreciated, by the way.
Very good, yes. The Houghton again with the third, yeah, something in that order. Yeah.
5 o'clock.
Knew somebody that.
Information about where.
Not allowed to say.
yeah.
You have to leave the room if anybody mentions it.
Just the.
It was an officer, Grand Poobah, what do you call it?
There you go.
Talking about it.
Oh.
I even looked at this.
Oh, God.
I like stuck my fingers in.
You do. Bet you do.
Mr. Kent?
Yeah, no, I.
Oh, this is your, that is my pen, yes.
Thank you. By the way, I was wrong. It was gonna take more time. We would have had a real long night.
Yeah, we would have been here till midnight.
But that worked out the way it did.
It did.
That was the only thing I was thinking. We're doing one.
I'm glad.
I was turning over to the other.
When you're wrong, you're wrong, and I thought we could probably.
We got stuff on the wrong top part of this.
That was the biggest thing. And we had him here.
I went out just to get monitored. They tough listen to. That's the thing. They appreciate you guys.